Hello, everyone, and welcome to International Coaches Club, the podcast where international coaches share their stories and how they've made an impact on their sport in the US, from college programs to professional and national teams. I'm your host, Liran Zamir. Peter, how you doing, brother?
Doing well.
This is exciting. This is the first time I'm doing a podcast live and not a Zoom record session. We're here at the AVCA convention in Kansas City in Missouri. And you're one of my definitely special guests. We're recording this session right after I recorded with Caesar, your partner at Set Point. So welcome, and thank you for participating in this. It's exciting.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Okay, so usually what I do in my podcast, I introduce my guest. I list all the great things that they've done, and then I edit it after. But today, because it's live, so I'm gonna read it in front of you, and then you're gonna tell me the thing that popped the most from the introduction. Okay?
Okay.
So we have Coach Peter, who born and raised in Brazil, led numerous athletes in Brazil. Several became pro athletes. A few others have played for the Brazilian national teams and have coached for 20 years about. Coach Peter developed his career with young athletes, but he also has experience with adult teams. And he's the indoor coordinator for the club in, just remind me the name of the club, it's right here.
Loudon Elite.
Okay, thank you, because I've been struggling saying that out. You have, you're gonna approve or disapprove. You have masters in sports training.
Yes.
In childhood and adolescence.
Adolescents.
God damn, that's the thing about international coaches. We can't pronounce anything.
Yes, you're right.
And that's going to be one of the questions later on. You have also masters in volleyball training.
Yes.
And masters in sports biochemistry, psychology training, and nutrition.
Yes.
So you have 3 master degrees.
I did.
Nice, Caesar. That's good. All right, now I see why you say he's your best part. Okay. Okay, so the director of Loudon Elite Volleyball in Virginia. Yeah, we established that. Co-host of Set Point. And the author of Rise Above the Net, which we're going to talk about all those things. But before we start, I'm going to say I'm ready to take notes, eyes and ears open. Let's talk volleyball and much more.
Well, that's my line.
Yeah. What stood out the most from the introduction for you?
I think I proud myself the most of work with youth, with the children. You know, even though I've worked with several athletes, a lot of them became pros, a lot of them went out to play for the national team. All of them became adults or will become adults. And so the life lessons that you can learn through volleyball and through sport, this is what drives me. And so all of the accolades, all the, the certificates, the diplomas, all of that comes second to helping the kids to grow and become the best version that they can through the sport that I love.
That's a very good answer. Before we're going to get into all the earlier coaching and experiences, I wanted to ask, how did you even get into coaching? Like, what did your early years in Brazil, how did it shape you to become a coach, and in volleyball particularly?
Let me try to make this short. So everybody in Brazil plays soccer, right?
Yeah.
And I grew up watching the first Brazilian team to get an Olympic gold medal in '92 Atlanta. So as a child, I fell off a bike. I couldn't sleep at night because my face was all masked up. So I was up at night watching Brazil playing the Netherlands, and that was my first memory of watching volleyball ever. And that caught me. So we play over the fence We played over the houses are all walled in Brazil, and so that's how it started. And in school, we played volleyball in school since 5th grade. But when I stand up, you can tell why I didn't go any further. For me to be short, I have to grow some inches. So, and because I always like to study the sport, so I was trying to find a way to stay in it. And it was definitely not by playing. So that's when I decided to go to school to study sports sciences and physical education. Because in Brazil, you must have a degree in sports sciences to work anything in the sports industry. So that was my first step. And I didn't think I was going to become a volleyball coach. I thought I was going to go into, research and all of that, become like a professor and academic. But early in college, volleyball popped back into my life. And so I had the opportunity. Fast forward a few years, here we are.
Very good. Awesome, man. We have kind of the same backstory of how we became coaches. I think the height plays a really important role in this sports. Okay, so awesome. So you started that, you went to schools and so on and so forth, and then you moved from Brazil to the United States. So can you tell me a little bit about that, your journey from there here, and why did you do it?
So I coached club in Brazil, and our vocation as a club, our athletes, they had basically two pathways. Either they graduated and went pro, but the pathway to go pro, like the funnel, is really, really tight. And so we had a lot of good athletes, but they were not good enough to go pro. And so we sent a lot of athletes here with a scholarship and go to college. Mm-hmm. And so one of those athletes introduced me to a coach, Coach Flavia Siqueira, to whom I forever grateful, because if it were not for her, she's at FGCU in Georgia. If it were not for her, I wouldn't be here. So she introduced me to the lady who would become my boss and the club owner. We worked together. And so she invited me to move over so that we could start the club in 2016. So the whole reason I moved to the U.S. so that we could start a volleyball club in Northern Virginia.
Very good. Wow, that's very specific.
Yep.
Which is great. This is very unique. A lot of coaches, it's kind of like we see the American world like athletes see it, right? The college, the big stage is less of like the club scene where we have it in our own countries.
Right.
So the fact that you did that is interesting, and we're gonna dive in more and see that you really care about the game and about developing and about learning. So that doesn't surprise me, but it's definitely something that is unique and cool. But okay, so you moved here, and we know the challenges of opening a club regardless, right? For Americans too, but what were your struggles moving to a new country? I don't know how your English was back then. Mine wasn't that good as it is today.
Mine's still not good to this day.
Yeah.
So.
But what were the biggest challenges?
Definitely the culture first. I think you may master the language, but you only learn, in fact, the culture when you're immersed in it, or when you're immersed in it and you live in it. The world of sports is very different here than it is in Brazil. Volleyball in the United States is very different than it is in Brazil. And so having that contact with that culture, there were quite a few struggles in the beginning, do's and don'ts, things I should be doing more, things I should be doing less, things I should be doing different. And so that was the first thing for me. And also going to a place where nobody knows you, you're starting something from scratch. And so we knew from the beginning that the road would be long. And we had a long-term plan. What are we going to be doing in the first year and the second year? And what would be our goals for 10 years? And so now we are starting our 10th season. And so we can look back now and see that it was all worth it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Was there any moment in those 10 years in the beginning, maybe now sometimes, that you think to yourself that, it wasn't worth it, or was it the right decision even to come here?
I would not take any step back. I would do everything over and over again. The struggles taught me a lot. They teach us a lot if we choose to look at the lessons that come from it, right? And so I think I was really well received by our community. I didn't have any issues with, being a foreigner. You could have that depending on where you are, but I didn't. So our parents, our community, they were all great. So I don't have that experience, fortunately.
Good.
And what I think, if I could, but I don't think I could, was learning more about administration and management, which I didn't in Brazil. So when you go to school in Brazil to become a sports scientist or a physical educator, you learn a lot about, how the body works, about sports, but we don't learn a lot in school about the management aspect of sports. Mm-hmm. And so if I could, I would go back and I would study that more, the 101 on management and all that. We learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Trying stuff and things not working and how to make that better and adjusting. I think the biggest thing for foreigners is that we have a good ability to adapt and adjust. Because if you don't, you're ruined. Right? If you don't adjust, you don't adapt to a different culture, a different language, you are kind of forced to learn and adapt. And I think that was what did it for me.
Okay, very good. Also, a little correction. We're internationals. We're not foreigners.
Internationals. There you go. There you go.
It's not the foreign.
Rephrasing. There you go. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So, I knew you without knowing, and I knew you, and we coached together in a camp, the Navy camp. One of the best camps in the U.S., regardless of where Navy is.
The Navy camp is awesome.
Yeah. I've seen you coach. It's looking at you coaching, you see the wheels turning. And
you see all the smoke coming out.
I see. It's like it's very interesting the way you think. You think differently. You strategize so well. What do you do differently? What is it? The mental aspect of the game? Do you think all the fundamentals that you teach is part of the strategy long term? What's the secret and thinking behind and outside the box?
So when you go to school and you study sport, everything is compartmentalized in classes, right? So you have a class about, biology and physiology, and then you have another class about the structure of the sport and the rules, and then you have another class about strength and conditioning. So you study all these components of sport in separate classes, very Cartesian, so to speak. But when you're on the court, those things don't happen separately. And so an athlete, a girl, when she goes up to spike to hit a ball, that's not only technique. That's a lot of strategy involved. There's a lot of athleticism involved. There's a lot of emotions involved. So is it in the beginning of a non-deciding set, or is it 13-13 in the third set? How was her week? Did she sleep well? How was her relationship with a potential boyfriend? Did she have a fight with her parents? How is her life outside sport? So all of that impact. So all those things you study separately in classes in college or in books, they don't happen separately. They happen all at once. And so when I see a player or a team play, there's only one thing I can measure right away is the quality of her movement or the quality of how the team moves on the court. But that's one aspect of the game. That's the only thing I can clearly see and measure. What I cannot see is how they are reading the game and what are the cues that they are paying attention to in the game, and what are those cues are leading them, what decisions are they making. So I can't see reading, I can see how they're thinking it, I can see their decision making, I can only see movement. And so I am always asking myself if my team is paying attention to the most relevant cues of the game and how they're thinking about making their decisions. I know that not every movement that you do is obeys that sequence of reading, decision making, and movement. If a hitter hits at me and I'm playing defense, my body auto adjusts and auto corrects for that pass that I'm gonna just make. But as a setter, I have a thinking process. And so I'm interested in the cognitive aspects of the performance as much as in movement. And so early in my days, and I think a lot of us still do, we are very, very good at teaching and correcting movement, but we still struggle a little bit or a lot in coaching, reading, and decision making. And if you don't have good reading and good decision making, and if those aren't fast enough, you won't perform well. You just perform by luck. And I don't want my players and my teams just reacting to the game. I want them reading and making good decisions, and those two things will lead them to good movement.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit about it.
Very good. And, that leads me to the next question. Now, we were talking about the coaching and reading in the U.S., but how different is the coaching environment in your home country in Brazil, and the athlete's mindset different there than here that makes them perhaps learn it better, the things that we were talking about, like the thinking behind the movement? What's the biggest differences?
I think we need to understand first how the training structure in Brazil is and compare it to the United States. So Brazilians do train a lot. So for example, most teams here in the United States, we train 2 to 3 days a week and compete over the weekends when we're in season, club level. In Brazil, you train 3 days a week up until U13. From U14 on, you're practicing 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. So there's a lot of training. So that's one of the main differences. And in playing here in the United States, we play a lot more. So the girls are on the court every weekend if they want, every other weekend for most clubs. In Brazil, we don't. So we play like the pros play here. So you play one game at your home gym, and then next weekend, you're going to play one game at your opponent's gym, and then you play year-round, maybe 12, 14, 15 teams during the whole year, 30 teams in season, 30 games in season, and then you have postseason. And that's throughout the whole year. So that, for me, that's the main difference. So the athletes are used to practice a lot. So that mindset of practice, practice, practice is a little bit different than here, because during your whole season, you may practice for 2, 3 weeks straight and prepare for one game. Very, focused practice for that one game. And here, we have to prepare for the unknown. I go to a tournament, I'm going to play a team that I've never played before. I don't have any information about them. So I have to learn about my opponent as we go, as we play. And so that, for me, is one of the biggest differences. The mindset that I see American athletes have about adjusting to the opponent while we are playing them is something that Brazilians struggle a little bit more. We do really well preparing for a game because we have that information in advance. And so that is one of the things that make a big difference. And in Brazil, we play international rules. So 6 subs per set, 1 switch, and that's it. So athletes know that they have to be good all around to play in Brazil from an early age. And here, athletes, I think it's changing a little bit now, especially when you hear, when you listen to the national team coaches talking about how we need to develop athletes that are well-rounded for the national team. But here I see athletes being okay with, okay, I am a good front row player. I don't need to practice much my back row skills. And I never understood it. For me, to this day, it's a struggle how a 12 or 13-year-old can only attack and block in the middle and nothing else. And so I think that's one of the main differences. Mindset-wise, I think we are talking about two powerhouses in the world, right? The American School of Volleyball and the Brazilian School of Volleyball. Both countries love to compete and to win. I just think that the main difference is how we get there. Many roads take to Rome. And so everybody gets there, different schools of volleyball, but the way you develop athletes to get there is a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. There's no one way to success. And
Right.
I just saw a reel on Instagram this week of, I think it was Nebraska's middle, that she said about Jamie, Texas A&M.
I saw that too, yeah.
That she asked her, "Are you a middle blocker or are you a volleyball player?" So totally resonates, and I think it's shifting. Like
Yes.
more and more players are. It's like old school, right? Because middle blockers used to play defense all the time. So I hope we'll get there, and they will learn more and more. Different techniques as different positions. It's good. And I wanted to go back to you and talk about your education. So the master's in education, psychology, biochemistry, all those things. How did all those shape the results in your coaching style, and how did it affect your current athletes and past athletes in Brazil?
Definitely, when I started, my grad school studies, I was very, very young. And so I tried to factor everything that I possibly could into my training, my practices, my plan, my season plan. And over the years, putting all of that information together and trying to see the athlete as a whole, not as just, excuse my French, but not as machines programmed to play the sport. There's a person there with feelings, with a history, with a background. I think all of this that I studied is not more important than my relationship with my athletes. Mm-hmm. And so I need to get them to trust the process, to trust me, so that together we can trust the process and walk that journey. And so all of that was just to confirm to me that it doesn't matter how much you know, your experience, if you don't bond with your athletes or whoever is under your leadership, right? Right now I don't have a team. My kids are my coaches.
Yeah.
Right? And so if I don't connect to them to a personal level, it doesn't matter how much I know. All those things are important. The physiology, the aspect of the game, motor learning, neuroscience, all of that is really, really important. But connecting with them is the first and foremost, the most important thing. And so, especially with Cesar, my friend now, that my brother actually, who have co-hosted Set Point with me, he's taught me a lot. That guy has mentored me about leadership in ways that I've never thought possible. And so hosting a podcast with him weekly, and of course all of the chats that we have outside the podcast has taught me a whole lot. So experience, study, and I think the best way to learn is to talk to people who know more than you.
Okay, that's awesome, man. That takes me to just thinking about a different question, but trying to connect with your athletes, trying to connect to people around you, and being from a different country. Do you feel, or you have an example of a time that you were misunderstood and it was harder for you to get into? Yeah.
Yes, my first season, I was coaching. So in our first season, we had two teams. I was coaching a U14 team, and Josie, my boss, she was coaching a U13 team, and we assisted each other. So I was at this local one-day tournament with our U14. I was still learning that we had a crazy number of subs, so I was not used to do many subs. And so people were like, Coach, aren't you gonna sub? And I was like, what are you talking about? You have 12 subs, you made 2. And it's 15-15, and there were 2 subs. And I was like, oh my God, yes, true. And so the next game, I prepared the lineups and who was gonna play for whom and all of that. And so I had a DS, so the next sub in the game was a DS go in for an outside hitter to play back row for her. But we were on a second set, and that was my last sub. If she went in, she would have to play front row.
Okay.
And so that's after that game I learned start your subs a little bit later in the set so you don't run out of subs. Don't start them in the beginning, but maybe now with 15 subs we can revisit that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started the subs way too early, and so this girl comes running in, and she was very, very short. Great player, outstanding player, but she was very, very short. But she would never have a chance to play front row. She would have to block outside. And the opposite on the other team, she was 16 feet tall. And so she came in running, and I knew that the moment you step inside the 10-foot line, you have to sub. Otherwise, they're going to call a delay of game.
Yeah.
And so she came in running, and I was like, no, and I held her by the arm, and she was like, oh, that's true. And she understood it. We understood it. The team understood it. But the crowd, especially her family, did not. So all they saw was me holding a girl and harassing her somehow. And that was a big lesson for me. You know, physical contact by being a male coach, coaching young girls.
Yeah.
And I come from a country where, 12-year-olds, 13, 14, 17-year-olds, after a long rally, they run after me and they jump on my lap and they hug you with their arms and their legs, and you celebrate, and nobody thinks that's a big deal. And so I had to learn, so the culture aspect of it again, I had to learn how to respect people's boundaries. Not that I don't think I crossed any boundaries there, but the poise and the composure that you need to have especially when you're on the sidelines, by being a male coach coaching young girls. That was an episode for me that I learned later on, that I had to be not more composed, but more intentional about the way I behave on the sidelines. Because then when people understand where I'm from, they're like, oh, I get it now. But until you get to that point, you may have some people not very happy with you.
Yeah, I hear you. I had very similar stories, so that's why it's so funny to me. I'm trying to think of all the times that I don't know, people think it's rude or aggressive or passive aggressive, and you're like, what? It's just regular, But
then again, it's like, I'm in this country and not the opposite.
Right,
so it's my job to learn the culture and to learn how people behave in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
So that taught me a valuable lesson that I take it to this day.
Very good. Awesome, man. So we mentioned that you were coaching athletes who went to play professionally, and you've been coaching many classes of athletes here for 10 years now and before 10 years. But all those players who went to play professionally, what did they all have in common that took them to the next level?
They work, excuse my French, but they work their butts off, regardless of their experience. They're willing to keep working hard and to learn from anybody that has useful information to them. I think that's the open mindset that they have to always be. There's always something to learn. My dad taught me this. Everybody has something to teach you, and you have something to teach everybody, right? And so those athletes have an insane willpower. They want to become better. They want to train. They want to get, and whatever it is, they want to be more athletic. They want widen their angles of their attacks. They want to read better. They want how to perform under pressure better. And so and they really do respect hierarchy. So you come in as their new head coach. They may not know who you are. They will respect you because you were put in that position for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so they know that you have something to teach them. So whoever they are, because when you go pro, your contract is a year, maybe 2. So you're constantly with a new coaching staff.
Yeah.
You don't have much time to build that rapport. You just I have to trust you because you're my head coach. I have never worked with you before. I have to trust you because you're my setter. I know who you are, but I never worked with you before. So that time constraint to build that rapport, that team cohesion, they are open to it. Of course, the head coaches and the coaching staff, they have to be masters in leadership because they don't have time. They simply don't have time. But on the other hand, those are professional players. Those are professional coaches. That's their bread and butter. Mm-hmm. And so they know that they have to perform, even if those things don't work how they thought it would work. And so I think that's the main thing. I'm going to practice even when I don't feel like it. I'm going to work hard even when I don't feel like it for whatever reason. And so that's the mindset, I think. Like they have a crystal clear goal. I want to get there, and they know what they have to do to get there, and they simply go and do it.
Okay. Very good. Awesome, man. No, we're talking about the fact that we're, as internationals, moving here and kind of need to learn the landscape and the culture and everything around here. But I was wondering what core beliefs you learned and gained in Brazil and you came with here today, and you still apply them in your day-to-day coaching.
So in our club, we have 3 core values. And the core values, they set up our culture. And so everything that we do, we ask coaches, administrators, and we ask players and families. So is this thing that we're thinking about doing, or the way that we're thinking about solving this conflict, or the next program that we're thinking about open, do they reinforce or they harm our core values? Mm-hmm. Everything that you do, anything that I say to an athlete, anything that I talk to a coach about, is that thing that I'm thinking about doing or saying going to harm or reinforce our core values? And those core values, I brought it from Brazil, and those 3 core values, should I share it with you? All right. So positive experience. It has to be a positive experience for everybody involved, not only the kids. The kids are at the center of it, but it has to be a positive experience for the coaches, mm-hmm. for the club administrators, for the parents, and for the kids. Everybody involved has to have a positive experience. The second core value is team first, or team first mentality. Of course, your individual goals as an athlete are very, very important, so much so that we have individual meetings. The staff has individual meetings with their players at the beginning of the season, and we ask them, what are your goals for this season? Your personal goals, and then where they align expectations. So I as a coach, I recruited you to be, my OH1. I'm expecting you to have these and this role within the team, but I want to know your goals. And so we have a plan for each player individually, but we always make it clear that it's a team first mentality. So that's our second value. And our third value is community, which ties up the first 2. And when we say community, we say first the community within the club first, and if we can outreach, that's good too. But the club community has to be strong, and we do it by trying to have everybody to have a positive experience and having a team first mentality. And we try to tell them that if you have a team first mentality, the team will help you to achieve your individual goals. So if I want to become a better passer, a better defender this season, if I put my team first, my team is going to help me become a better defender. Yeah. And so on and so forth. So that is one thing that I brought from our experience in Brazil. And when I say our experience, it was mine and everybody who worked with me, was to have your core values, your principles really, really well established. And what do you do with them? It's not just to go on the website or for you to post. It was, how do you make something that is almost ethereal, right? You can't touch culture. You can't touch values. You can't measure values, but you can measure and see actions. And so how we make that thing that you can't touch, how you can make that tangible, how you can make that intangible tangible. And so that's one thing that we try to do on a daily basis with everybody within the club.
Very good, man. Don't tell all your professional secrets, by the way. If you don't feel comfortable, you can.
No,
keep it
I'm
to
good,
yourself.
man. I'm good.
Awesome.
The more we share, the more the sport grows.
Definitely. And that's what every coach says that. Every coach who goes on my podcast said, we need, this is a resource to share everything we know and everything we learn with the other coaches. And we're going to touch on that a little bit more. But, today you're the club director at the London Elite, and you have your core values and all of those. But what are you guys most focused on right now with the club?
So there are a lot of club philosophies out there, right? You have those clubs that seek performance and, qualifying to nationals no matter what, and that's their path, that's their vocation. You have other clubs that have everybody plays kind of philosophy and developmental. What we're trying to do is to find a good balance between development, which is at the core of what we do. So we have a clear path from U12 to U18. All those milestones that the players, what we're trying to help them achieve, so that they are students of the game, not only players.
Yep.
So that's one thing. So development is a huge foundation for us. And the second thing is, how can we establish ourselves as an organization that is respected by our community in the way that, okay, you're going to develop my kid, but they'll also be competitive. Don't get me wrong. We love winning. We love winning. And we try to go and play as many tournaments, as high-level tournaments as we can, qualify to nationals and send kids to college and all the stuff that everybody does. But we're trying to do something, I think, a bit wider than that. And so right now we're planning on to have an international experience for our athletes every year during club season. Sometimes you go to some qualifiers and the flights are so expensive, the hotels are so expensive that you could easily maybe go to Europe and have a 5-7 day experience in Europe. And so bringing another culture to the players, but as well as taking the players to another culture, like how the Italians play volleyball. How do they play volleyball? How do they face volleyball? Imagine your child having that experience in addition to develop as a player and to compete, all of that. So we're trying to broaden the spectrum of what youth sports can be and have the kids have as many different experiences as possible. But at the same time, to give the possibility for athletes who are not, or for, better said, for kids who were not cut out for high-level sport, because let's be honest, if everybody could play volleyball at a high level, we wouldn't need tryouts. Everybody could play on a national team. Not everybody's cut out for sport, but everybody, for high-level sport, but everybody can play volleyball. And so how can we offer more opportunities for kids who are never going to be as talented as much as they can work? How can they experience and have volleyball as part of their lives? So we're in that path too. And luckily, in our county, in Loudoun County, they just approved boys for high school. So next school season, we're going to have boys in Loudoun County.
Perfect.
And so we are working on providing opportunities for boys to play volleyball in Loudoun County right now, and maybe for next season to start a travel program for boys. And we luckily also have our beach program, and that could be a possibility for boys too, indoor and beach. And yeah, that we're doing some things.
Very good. Developing volleyball, regardless of gender or age, it's very good. And boys volleyball is growing all around the country, so that's a good thing. But we're talking about developing players. You guys also develop coaches.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that, and how do you develop coaches within your own club? What's your philosophy around it?
So I said that my coaches are my kids, right? They're my team, and so I try to approach them as much as I would coaching a team of players. So I have to connect with them. I have to bond with them. I have to gain their trust. They have to know that I'm there for them no matter what. And so that's the first thing, trying to have coffee with them, chat with them, being at their practice. I'm at our practices as much as I can, shagging balls, hitting, whatever they need me to do. And so we have a master coach program within the club. And so sometimes I tell them, if you need me to demo the drill, I will go help them with the drill, help you. You need another person at practice today. You're at a tournament, so we have some coaches that every coach one day was a first-time coach. Mm-hmm. Every experienced coach one day was a first-time coach. And that coach had their first tournament, and they were freaking out, right? And so I try to see the newer coaches, the new coaches in the club, who are also new coaches, and I try to be there for them as much as I can, even if I'm not on the bench. Just being on the sidelines, and you will see me like crazy, like on the sidelines when my U12 scores a point, and just validating the coaches. I think we talk a lot about mental health these days and the importance of developing those things with athletes and making everybody aware. But I think we should be talking more about the coaches' mental health and how can whoever is in a leadership role help their coaches feel like they belong, make part of the decision making, sometimes administratively too, listen to their voice and have them focus on their team, but feel like they belong, feel like they have a place or somebody that they can go to and that they can talk about the struggles and find solutions. We are very solution driven. So bring me your problems, I will hear them, but we need to focus on the solution. So being that point, that person that they can go to is one of my main goals these days. And of course, talking about how are we going to progress from a 6-6 to a 4-2 to all of those things. Are we going to block line, cross? What is blocking line? What is blocking cross? How I'm going to run my off? All these things matter, and we do share a lot. So having those conversations with them and having them together, having coaches together, just sharing. So I'm going to ask Cesar, what was your struggle last weekend? Maybe another coach had the same struggle, and I don't even have to say anything. They would talk with each other. I was just there for them. So having those opportunities for sharing experience, and sometimes all they need to know is that somebody's listening to them.
Yeah.
I don't have to say anything, just be there to listen and be there for them. And so I think that's the main job as a club director, is when we're talking about coaches, is to be there for them whenever they need you.
Very good. I love that answer. Peter, we have another thing in common. I don't know if you know that. Authors.
Oh, yeah.
You wrote Rise Above the Net.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what conversations you're trying to bring up through the book, through the volleyball community, and you can tell us a little bit about the book without telling too much. Don't give all the secrets again. But I want people to listen to this and then want to buy the book.
So I went to public school in Brazil, and when you go to when I'm talking university, and you don't pay for it, right? The taxpayer money pays for it. And so when I moved here, and I always had this in my mind, how can I give back to the people that paid for my education? And Brazilians, we don't write a lot. So all the main coaches, they wrote books about leadership and how to put a team together. But volleyball-wise, there isn't much written. And what we have is very, very, very old in the sense that it was written a long time ago and the sport changed. So that was my first commitment, was to leaving something behind. And I'm no longer here, especially for my fellow coaches in Brazil. And we have a lot of places in Brazil where people don't know that there is a volleyball program there because it's so hidden in the countryside. So many good coaches, so many good players and programs that nobody will ever know about. And I wanted to help them because I knew that they wouldn't ever be able to go to a conference like this, a convention like this, because we don't have that in Brazil as much as we have here in the United States. So how can I help the coaches to become better coaches? So that was my first thing. And the second thing, it was like, I wanted to have a place, and by place I mean a resource, where I can go to and transform and take all these things that I learned over the years out of my head with all the education and just share it with people. And so that's when I went on and I wrote the book. It's a very dense book. It's like almost 500 pages about youth volleyball. And I wanted to, and I just published it in English because I wrote most of it in English.
Yep. Translate to
yeah, it didn't.
Portuguese.
It's not translated to Portuguese yet, and I published it here. And so I just wanted that to be a resource for whoever wanted to work with youth.
Awesome. I love that, man. That's very good. Okay, so all right, let's we're coming towards the end of this live episode, and if you could give one message to a young Brazilian coach that is looking to come and coach in the U.S., what would that be?
Do it. Do it. Well, learn the language.
Yeah,
Learn the language. That's very, very important. And if I could say one thing, is try to study the culture as much as you can, so you don't struggle as much as I did in the beginning. Try to talk to people who are here. Do it the right way, meaning, Brazilians don't do it much, but come through the front door. That's what I mean. To the and not just in the United States, anywhere. Go through the front door. Have your connections. Talk to people. Ask questions. Don't do anything without knowing. If you don't know the answer, if you're not 100% sure about the answer, just ask. The volleyball community is very, very supportive. At least that's what's been my experience in 20 years coaching. We're very supportive. People are very open to chat and give their 2 cents about stuff. But ultimately, you will never know if things are going to work or not if you don't do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's my message. If you're thinking about it, study as much as you can, get prepared, and do it.
Awesome, man. And the book that I was running is, the name is Don't Coach Like Me, and it's 10 lessons of things I learned here in the U.S. And one of them, I wanted to be a resource, just like this podcast, a resource for international coaches that come here and don't know the basics of what to expect, because people think of all the good things, but they don't have an idea of what we're going through and what we need to learn the hard way. It's always the hard way, right? So this book and podcasts are for the people who don't know what to expect, and maybe it can kind of ease their experience. But I wanted to ask you also, what is one thing that you wished you've known before coming to the U.S. to coach?
Ooh, that's a toughie. I wish I knew more about people. How to connect with people, how to bond with people, how to read people better. Because coming from an academic background,
Mm-hmm.
you are very much into books and papers and studying stuff. I wish I had studied people more, That's one thing I would tell everybody. There's so many resources out there for you to become a better communicator, a better speaker, a better I want to say people reader. If you get what I'm saying, the way that people talk to you, their body language, all of those things send a big message. And if I knew better, I think the beginning here would have been a bit easier.
Awesome, man. All right. Going to finish with a couple more things. Something that I ask all coaches. What's your favorite on-court drill?
Constrained 6-on-6.
Elaborate. Go ahead and tell us what that means.
And so, especially for the athletes who are not...
Nice word to know, by the way. I don't know what that word means.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
a constraint is a challenge, something, some impediment, something you take out of their hands. So, for example, I'm playing 6-on-6, and the block is always blocking cross. You figured out what you're gonna do. So I'm not a big fan of staying for too long in blocked drills. So I'm gonna hit line. If you've never done it before, that's good for a little bit of time. But there's no reading or decision making. Remember those cognitive aspects we talked about in the beginning? There's no reading there. I'm all just working my mechanics, my technique. And that's great, but not for too long, because in the game, you will need to read a set, you will need to read the height of the ball, you need to adjust your time, you need to read the block, and then you will attack line. And so, you know how to attack line, but you will really learn how to attack line when you are in a game-like situation with a lot of variables involved, and you have to pick the most relevant cues and make a decision to hit line. So when I want to teach my players how to hit line, I'm going to play some sort of game where I'm going to set my block cross court, and I'll have them explore and figure it out how to hit line. Because if they hammer the ball cross court, they're going to get stuff blocked the whole time. And so those are my favorite kind of practices. So technique and tactics and strategy combined to develop your game IQ. But not always 6-on-6. I can play constrained games, 3-on-3, 4v4, 2v2, 6v4, 6v3, you know? And so to me, those are the kinds of drills that I love the most. And I'll finish with this. I coach youth, and the kids come to our gym, and I always say this, they come to our gym for one reason. They come to the gym because they like playing volleyball. We need to give that to them. We are the ones who have to figure out ways, scientifically proven ways, that are going to help develop our kids, and we have to use what drives them to our favor, which ultimately is going to turn into a benefit for them. So they want to play volleyball. We're going to give them a lot of volleyball, a lot of modified games, but they're going to play volleyball. They're going to play over the net. They're going to play competitively. And then my job as a coach is, how can I design a practice, an environment that's going to foster exploration and help them do all of those things and still be competitive, still want to win. So for me, those are the kinds of drills and games that I like the most.
Very good. All right, man. Well, we're almost finishing off. I just wanted to do a quick speed round.
Okay.
So it's a speed round of questions, and you can answer with 1 or 2 words, or like Caesar did. You answer with 5 minutes per question, but that's fine. 1 or 2 words. Ready?
Yes.
One thing you miss about Brazil.
Food.
Nice. One coaching belief you changed after coming to America.
Patience is not key, it's foundational.
Most important trait you look in young athletes.
Love for the game.
Nice. One physical quality most volleyball players neglect.
Ooh. Physical. Could it be 3?
Sure,
My
go
top
ahead.
ones? So, run faster,
Uh-huh.
jump higher, hit harder.
Okay. That's funny. The basics. Now you as a weightlifting coach as well.
Yeah.
We didn't get into that, but one lift that every volleyball player should learn first.
Back squat.
Back squat. Age group that teaches coaches the most.
The youngest you can possibly have.
Okay, a couple of more. What made you decide to Rise Above the Net?
I'm gonna tell a story for that. Can I?
Go ahead.
All right.
Yes.
Last week, I was trying to figure it out whether or not it was worth it to come here and share with people, here with you, and then in my talk tomorrow. And I was going to a practice, and there was this 8 or 9-year-old girl. She came in the gym, and she was singing. I don't remember the song, but she was singing like crazy. And I look at her, and I said, I listened to that song on the radio coming to practice today. And she was like, was that in your car, coach? I'm like, yeah. And then she asked me, what app is that? The radio. And I was like, come again? Yeah, it was like Spotify or Apple. And I said, what app is that? The radio. And
51 FM.
and then I was like, it's an app that comes with the car. It's called the radio. And you can pick different channels that we call stations. And you have different styles of music. And the girl went like, oh, no way. My car has an app? And I asked her, how did she listen to music in the car? And she said that her mom and dad, the first thing that they connected their phone, and they played something either on a podcast or a Spotify, so she never knew there was this thing called the radio. So 2 things hit me. One was that, okay, I am really getting old. And 2, I have something worth sharing. And so that is what drove me to write the book. Maybe I have something, 1 or 2 words, 1 phrase within that book that's going to help somebody to become a better coach.
Right.
That's why.
Awesome. I love it. Okay. Perfect. What's your favorite English slang word?
My favorite English slang? Okay, 8.
8?
She ate it.
Oh, she ate.
She ate it.
Nice.
She hit a crazy good ball, and the girl's like, oh, she ate it. And they start going like this. I'm learning. I'm old, but I'm learning.
That's perfect. What's the hardest English word to pronounce?
There's so many. There's so many. Okay. Squirrel.
Squirrel. Yeah. You know Otavio Souza?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He told me that the hardest words for him to pronounce was everything with R and L after, like
R, L, yeah.
So squirrel, I guess.
Squirrels.
Okay.
I don't even know if I do it. If I speak it,
I got
squirrel.
it.
You got it. Okay, good.
Maybe because I'm a foreigner too. Peter, representing Brazil or the USA if you had a chance as a coach?
Both.
Pick one. I'm going to make it hard for you.
The first one that I can, that first one that I have an opportunity, I'll gladly help out. Brazil is where I came from. The United States is my home.
Yeah.
And yeah, both places are home. So wherever I can have a chance to help, I will gladly.
Very good, man. And last one, if you weren't a coach, what would you be?
If I were not a coach, oh, that's not fair.
Everybody has to go through it. Sorry.
I would like to be a musician.
Do you play anything?
Piano.
That's good.
Yeah, if
Awesome.
I would love to be a musician because there's a lot of more learning in playing music and playing an instrument. So I kind of like that. Or maybe food taster.
I love that. Or both.
That's a good,
for
or
that
both.
matter.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
All right,
that'd be
man,
great.
that's cool. And that one you can have both. Peter, there's one thing we didn't talk about almost at all, and another resource that you developed with Caesar is a podcast where we're talking about your book and how you wanted to reach to as many people as you could. But then now you have the podcast as well. Caesar, the great Caesar, is over here. Caesar, would you mind coming to the stage and I can ask a couple of questions?
No, you take my place.
No. I want both of you.
Okay.
Both of you. So Caesar can come in. And brother, how you doing? Thanks for sitting around and waiting and listening to Peter. I know you listen to him all the time, so you knew everything about that.
I can listen to this guy every day.
We'll try 2 fingers from the microphone, so it will go right in the recording. But thanks, Caesar, and thanks, Peter. So I want to hear from both of you and from your perspective. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned you actually shared a little bit about it in our last podcast, but what drove you guys to start it, and even more so, what keeps you going till today? All our amigos
fans here.
They're the podcast fans.
Yeah. Well, our first goal is to learn. So we're big learners. We love to learn. We love to. We're very curious about things regarding volleyball and regarding all other things that is around our profession. And so the first reason was pretty selfish for us to learn. So we always joke about with our guests that we want to learn. We want to bring people in to get more information, to get better as people, as coaches. And then one thing that I've been doing for a long time is to run coaching clinics in Brazil. And at some point after the pandemic, I started doing everything online. And Peter was doing his course as well. So it's like, man, I started consuming a lot of podcasts in many different forms of podcasts and subjects. I was like, why don't we start a podcast ourselves, like to talk about volleyball and bring people in and share this with the volleyball community, especially Brazilians that don't have this kind of culture here. I was like, yeah, we could do it. And then at some point we were like, well, we can, let's think about it. And then like after a few months, we're like, why we haven't started our podcast yet? Like, let's do it. We set up a Zoom call, we started doing, and then it kind of picked it up in a way that we did not expect. And today we're 90 episodes in, talked to many coaches here around the world, a lot of national team coaches. That has been an experience that is changing our lives forever. And
that's awesome.
Awesome.
Do you hear him, by the way, with when he talks? Oh, perfect. Peter, from your perspective, like I've seen a few. It's hard to find English episodes. Only if you see people like I think Mike McGann was there. I saw Thais, who's a good friend, but even that was in Portuguese. What drives you to keep going in Portuguese? Would you like to open it more to the American audience or elsewhere?
So when we first started, we were an independent channel. I used to be the one who edited the episodes. I'm going to ask for forgiveness for that. But then a few episodes in, we had this, I want to say it's the biggest volleyball channel on YouTube in Brazil, maybe in South America. I don't know. They reached out to us and they invited us to lead the educational, I want to say the educational vein of their channel. So there's this big umbrella. So you have entertainment, volleyball history, Brazilian volleyball history, and they wanted us to lead the educational aspect of it. And so we were invited to bring our podcast on under their umbrella. And so our main audience is Brazilians and South Americans. But nothing is holding us from holding episodes or from having Americans. We had John Mayer. He came on to talk to us. And I think it's just having more opportunities. Now YouTube has an auto translate, like auto captions, so that helps our Brazilian friends to to read when we have. I think that was our main, the main thing not to have more American coaches is because of a technical thing. And now that we do have that, and we have friends here who watch the podcast on YouTube and that they can read the auto translation. And so I think moving on, we're going to have more friends from different countries, not only from the U.S., but from, Italy, Japan, all of those friends that we have, Korea, Europe, the Middle East, coaches that are there, coming on and talking to us and help us share and grow the sport.
Very good, man. So tell us a little bit more. Like you say you're learning, which is great. What are like the main components of learning and the things that you guys talk about the most in your podcast? And what's the most interesting thing that you guys came across with a coach?
Yeah, I'm the one who does the script for the podcast, and we have like a master line that we follow. It's like, how did you start? Who were your references in the beginning? What it's something interesting about your story as a coach, as a player that you can bring on for us to share and learn. And then we talk about what are the methodologies that they follow, what are the most important things about tactical aspects, we're on the leadership aspect as well, and then share some interesting facts about their career. Like each guest that we have has a different background, has a different experience, so we try to explore that different experience from each one of them. And then by the end, we have a little section that's called the pepper. So we have 4 questions that we ask all of them, and then it's super interesting to see all the different responses from the same questions that we ask all of them, and see the different perspectives and see what they value the most, and some interesting facts that they share. That it's pretty cool. I mean, we brought how many Olympians, like many guys that won like gold Olympic medals, that have like massive experience, that can share some really good stories or some really good lessons that they learned while they're playing or coaching, that it's pretty valuable for our audience and for us, of course.
That's very cool. And last question here, Peter, what's the future of your podcast other than bringing coaches from across the world? What's the future of it looks like? How do you want to expand it, or maybe you don't want to continue anymore? I don't know. Yeah.
Man, we have so much fun doing it, and it's such a great experience actually learning from our guests. It's very, very cool. So I don't think we plan to stop anytime soon.
Good.
We plan to keep going. And but we are moving on to adding more coaching education stuff.
Okay, good.
And we're working towards perhaps having a partnership with the National Federation in Brazil. The federation has its coaching courses that every coach in Brazil has to have. So you have to be certified, and those are dense courses, man. But there can always be more. So we hopefully we will be able to develop this program for coaches and be more in coaching education. But I think our main mission is just to grow the community, to tighten the bonds between coaches and players and everybody that loves the sport in any way that we can.
That's awesome. Do you guys find it odd that in the U.S. you don't need a coaching certificate in order to coach in the highest level?
In the beginning, I couldn't understand how can you coach without a minimum education.
Just bachelor's degree in anything.
Correct.
Yep.
And while I had to go through so much studying, we had to go through so much studying to become a coach, because there's so much involved, right? Much more beyond the game itself. But I came to learn over the years that there's room for everybody. I think you need to learn some things that should be mandatory, like how to keep your athletes safe. And for example, I see today, and I tell my coaches that all the time, an epidemic of goofy-footed hitters, right? Players that don't have a proper sequence of approach to swing a ball, and that not only impacts the range of angles that they can swing with power, but in the long run, it may impact their knees, their hips, their back. And so that is something that you don't learn on a weekend course, and so that is one of the things. So I think there are some things that should be the bare minimum that every coach should learn, especially regarding the safety of your athletes, not only physical but mental as well, or mental first and then physical, or both are equally important. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's a different culture. So who am I to judge? I just found odd when I was here, but then hey, you gotta dance the dance.
Yep. Very good. Okay. All right. So we're going to finish here saying buy the book Rise Above the Net in order to learn more about coaching, especially with youth volleyball. Listening to Set Point on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Where else? Everywhere.
Yep.
Okay. 3 platforms. Yeah, 3 platforms? All right. Perfect. My book for education, Don't Coach Like Me. This podcast, International Coaches Club. Do you have a book, Caesar?
I'm not smart enough like you guys to write a book yet.
But he wrote a chapter on my
In your
next book, my next one.
Okay, good.
My next one, he's on it. He's on it.
Is it the shorter chapter?
The shorter.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Can I consider myself a writer?
An author.
Author, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Peter, it was a pleasure. Thank you for
Thank you, man.
Thank you for
having
the
me.
whole hour. Caesar, thank you for crashing. I appreciate
Thank you
that.
so much, man.
And look up for the episode with Caesar. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
Thank you.